Hey, what's going on, YouTube world? It's your guy, it's your main man, the real Pat Man. Hey, man, listen, I don't do YouTube videos, man. This is not my platform. I lead this kind of stuff, man, for my colleagues. Lieutenant Dan, Man Mike Sports, the Don with Fila Sports Podcast, and host other guys, Rise Up, Run Down. My colleagues, I let them do their thing on here. This ain't how I do business, man. But I felt the need, man, to kind of get some things on my chest, kind of ramble on a little bit, to kind of get you guys kind of thinking about what I'm thinking about, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't really do videos, but as you guys or know, if you probably don't know, you should know, the Atlanta Falcons today announced that they will not pursue contract negotiations with outside linebacker / defensive end edge rusher Vic Beasley Jr., right? And to be honest with you, we knew this was coming. Anybody that didn't know this was coming, they were either sleeping on the rock or they're kind of, it was kind of a fantasy lose-lose situation for the Falcons. If Vic Beasley would have balled out, he would have priced himself out of Atlanta. If he would have underperformed, they would have let him go regardless. So there was really no win-win for the Falcons, man. Vic was not wanted in Atlanta. The fans didn't want him here. They became hostile towards him. It became a toxic environment. Fans just did not like Vic Beasley. For personal reasons, folks said that, his effort on the field wasn't good enough. They said he didn't have dog in him. There's a plethora of different things that Falcons fans just did not like Vic Beasley about. And it is what it is, because at the end of the day, it's about opinion. But I'm going to just give you guys my opinion, just some things that I noticed. First and foremost, I'm going to try to keep profanity to a little bit down. I'm going to try not to cuss too much, all right? But the whole situation with Vic Beasley was a mess from the jump. Vic Beasley is the product of what I like to consider very, very poor foresight on the part of the Atlanta Falcons, right? And it's what happens, man, when you try to kind of fit a square peg into a round hole, if you would. Vic Beasley didn't fit what the Falcons wanted to do. So instead of finding somebody that could do the things that they wanted to do, they tried to move him around some. They tried to basically force what they wanted to do defensively on the Vic Beasley, and it just didn't work. Granted, when they finally started to realize that he and Devondre Campbell are very similar in players, not necessarily, physicality wise, because Devondre Campbell is a much more physical individual, physically as well as mindset wise than Vic Beasley. But towards the tail end of the season, man, they started using those guys in opposite roles. They started having Vic cover more, having Campbell rush the pass more, and it was a success. It was working. The problem that I have with this entire situation with Beasley is that, in my opinion, it's a lack of foresight, right? Because again, man, we see teams all the time, man. Just because you're a first round pick don't mean you're gonna work out, right? And that doesn't mean Vic is a bad person or he's a terrible player, regardless of what Falcons fan may say. Some guys just need a change of scenery. I mean, that's life sometimes. But my issue is this: if you're the Atlanta Falcons and you know that you are not gonna be either eligible to sign a guy because he's going to price himself out, or you're not going to retain him regardless, why pick up an option for that individual? And that's the question that continues to bug me, that I cannot get the answer to. If you were the Atlanta Falcons, why pick up Vic's option? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to kind of break it down to you guys, a series of events that have occurred with the Atlanta Falcons this last offseason that got us in this mess that we're in, right? They picked up Vic Beasley's option, which was fully guaranteed. In 2018, there were trade rumors that teams wanted to acquire Vic Beasley from the Falcons, and the Falcons elected not to do so. That immediately tells you that the Falcons were not thinking beyond that particular year. They were trying to win now, so they want to let Vic go, even though, as we see now, they weren't going to be able to retain him either way. Then, on top of that, you get into the whole topic of, you give it Tyson Braille, James Carpenter, and Jamon Brown, I believe it was $25.7 million in guaranteed money, which means if the new CBA does away with the post-June 1 cuts, Carpenter and Brown have to be on this roster next year. You can't move them. You can't move them without acquiring a whole tremendous amount of dead cap. They're going to be here next year. You're stuck with them. You add in Vic's $13 million, all of a sudden, you can do simple math. 25.7 plus, 12.8 rounded up to 13 mil. Now you're easily talking about 37, 38 mil in cap between those four guys. That, to be honest with you, was unnecessary spending of funds. We talk about Austin Hooper, and, like I said, the new CBA is going to loom very large now, because with this new CBA, if they do away post-June 1 cuts, that's going to kill the Falcons' ability to retain Austin Hooper. They can do it, but now you're putting a burden on yourself to where you really don't have much money to do anything else. Unless you want to try to restructure some more contracts, kick the can down the road some more. But I don't think the Falcons are in a position to where they could potentially do that. So now you're stuck with this situation where Vic's gone. You may, depending on the offseason, you may fetch a comp pick for him. We don't know if the comp picks formula is going to change under the new CBA. So now, if you're the Falcons, you can just hope to get a compensatory pick for Vic Beasley, when you could have got something for him last year, saved the money. Oh, and by the way, you have Bruce Irvin, who plays the exact same role that he played for us this year, wanted to be here, and he exhibited all those qualities that Falcons fans love so much. He had that dog in him. He had that fire in him. He was a vet. He was a leader on the field. That's what Falcons said. You know what the Falcons did for Bruce Irvin? They didn't offer him a contract. They didn't even offer Bruce Irvin a contract. The same thing they did with Vic right now, they did to Bruce Irvin last year. So guess what? That relationship is pretty much done for. And so you're saying to yourself, the Falcons fumbled this opportunity. They had flexibility last year. If they would have just retained Bruce Irvin, who, by the way, signed a 4-year, he signed probably 4 years. I'm not 4 years, but $4 million per, something like that when he was in Carolina. I think it was like a 1-year deal worth $4 million or something like that. That's what Bruce Irvin signed. And Vic Beasley got 3 times that. And if you look at their numbers, even though Bruce Irvin missed a couple of games in the beginning, their production is almost the same. So that kind of tells you something. But that's a lack of foresight. That's a lack of what are we going to do past this year? And I'm not going to put the blame on Arthur Blank, because Arthur Blank is a businessman. Arthur Blank is a man who's an aggressive owner. He wants to win now. He's not trying to go into no rebuild and, trying to wait 4, 5, 6 years or the case may be to try to win a Super Bowl. He wants to win one now. But his timelines, his expectations that he put on the front office, which are right, what he rightfully has done, because that's how the type of owner he is, have created a situation where the Falcons kind of panicked, if you think about it, right? There was, Thomas Dimitrov on record talking about he had conversations with Arthur Blank, and they were talking about how we'll never let Matt Ryan get hit as much as he did, even though he got hit more in 2019 than he did in 2018. But anyways, so that's why he went and aggressively attacked the offensive line. He threw money at the offensive line. He used 2 first-round picks on the offensive line. The offensive line was still bad. You know what I mean? So when you already have it in your mind that that's what you're going to do in the offseason, you have no choice but to maintain with the safe option, which is Vic Beasley. They kind of had no other choice. It was, in my opinion, it's a panic move, man. So talk about all the negative stuff and, you know, all this other stuff. Now, what's next for the Falcons? What's next? The Atlanta Falcons are entering a time that's unknown. Right now, we don't know what the Falcons are going to do. We can't look at history to tell us what this team is going to do. Because, first of all, Vic Beasley is the first round pick that Thomas Dimitroff has ever drafted that he did not retain due to some type of injury. Everybody else he's retained. He didn't retain Sean Witherspoon because he kept getting hurt. And he didn't retain Pierre Jerry because he kept getting hurt. And I think he retired after like his first 4 or 5 years or something like that. Every other draft pick have received a second contract, to include Sam Baker, who was also injury prone. So now when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, now we're in a time in Atlanta Falcons where we don't know what this defense is going to look like next year. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. And I'm going to hone in on the defensive line because Vic played a ton of snaps. I think he played the second most snaps up front other than Grady Jarrett. That's a lot of snaps that somebody has to replace. If Tack is watching this video, I want Tack to understand something. This hatred that you saw Vic Beasley get is coming your way if you do not produce. It's going to happen, man. That's how fans Tack is getting to a point where he's entering year 4. What does that mean? The Falcons had an opportunity, if they want to pick up his 5th-year option, which is probably going to be guaranteed for injury, just like any other 5th-year option. Now the bright lights are on Tack. It's not on Vic no more. Vic's out of town. Now it's on Tack. What is this Falcons defense going to look like? What's the defensive line going to look like next year? We don't know. You know, I'll speculate and say what I think should happen. I think the Falcons should be aggressive in addressing their defensive line. And they should do it equally through free agency as well as the draft. Because I don't think you can really depend on one or the other. I think it has to be a consolidated effort. Free agency and the draft in order to bring in the pieces to make this defensive line salvageable. But now everything, like I say, is on Tack, man. Tack doesn't ball out. Guess what they're going to do, man? They're going to come after him just like they came after Vic, man. That's just the cycle of life of a Falcons fan, right? A guy, when he's on a rookie deal, when he's making peanuts, ain't nobody really going to come after that individual like that. Now that you got a guy that is about to start making some bread, they're going to come after this individual. And you're going to see that with Tack, man. And Tack is not shy on social media. So I think it's going to get bad if he does not produce to fan expectation. They're going to come after him on social media. They're going to run Tack out of town. And like I say, man, they still got to pick up Tack's 5th-year option. They still got to pay Austin Hooper. Without a post-June 1 cut, it makes things very, very difficult because now you run into the same situation with Vic. Is Tack the long-term answer on the edge for the Atlanta Falcons? Can he be counted on to be the defensive end edge rusher number 1 on this team? And right now, the answer is no. Tack still has a lot to growing up. He still has a lot to learn as far as his technique. He's got the effort. He's got the dog that everybody likes in him. But Tack has to refine his technique. You know, he has to grow up, man. He's got to learn how to be a leader of men. He can't just be just a guy out there anymore. But the question is Tack ready to take on that role? Because regardless of how we feel, there's going to be some young dudes that's going to be added to this defensive line via the draft. And if Tack's not ready to take over that role, or the Falcons are not committed to Tack post 2020, in my opinion, if he's in a fourth year of a potential 5th-year option, I think they need to explore moving Tack. I really do. Tack has value. A lot of folks like, we're not trading Tack. That's fine. Tack has value up front. He's the only piece really on the defense that you can move. I guarantee you some team is going to give you at least a 3rd, maybe even a 2nd-round pick for Tack. It all depends on if you're going to be committed to him past 2020. If you're not, then you run into the same situation with Beasley. You're going to put him on an option. He's either going to get hurt or he's going to underperform. He's going to do this. And it's just going to be a cycle, repeat, rinse, repeat. What I want y'all to take away from what I'm talking about, I'm just kind of rambling a little bit. So don't take anything personal. Is this is a new era for the Falcons, man. We've never seen this from this team under Thomas Dimitroff. Generally under Thomas Dimitroff, we see a level of player loyalty that, it's a feel-good thing, man, to take care of your own guys. But the Falcons have had the inability to move on from players under Dan Quinn. They, for whatever reason, struggle to move on from certain players. You can't keep everybody, man. If somebody's not doing what you want them to do, they're not fitting your system, you got to move on, man. They moved on from Duke Riley because he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. And guess what? Duke Riley's being successful on the Philadelphia Eagles as a special teams captain now. It's a good story. Vic could go to another team and he could be, an above average guy. We don't know. The 2020, in my opinion, is the most important year for this regime because they had an opportunity to right the ship. They had an opportunity to go out there and show the world that they just made a mistake, or they made a couple mistakes and they're trying to fix them. The one thing I don't want to see this team do, though, is try to think that, man, we're one piece in the draft away from being back where we were at. Because that's the problem you notice with this team is that they're still trying to chase 2016. Everything about the Falcons is, we need to get 2016 back. We need to trace 2016. Now they got an opportunity to not only change up how they operate defensively, but just the overall mindset, the overall image of this team. And I mention the defense so much because everybody knows I'm a numbers guy, man. The offense wasn't winning the Falcons games last year. If you look at it from a number standpoint, the defense, once the defense started playing better, that's when the Falcons was winning the games. The offense was the same from first half to second half. It really didn't change, but the run game got a little bit better. That's about it. So, to me, man, when I look at the whole entire scope of things, I think the Falcons are going to live and die by this defense. If this defense is balling, the Falcons are going to win a bunch of games. If it's not, now you're depending on Matt Ryan to put the team on his back again. And he's putting himself out there. Matt Ryan, for the second time in his career, had to miss some games due to an injury, man. He's getting up there in age. You don't want him, out there taking those shots again, man. It's going to be such a critical time for the Atlanta Falcons, man. Either they're going to go out there and put a product on the field that's going to be competent, one that's going to be, able to go out there and do the job, or it's going to be the same thing we've seen from previous years. Only time will tell, man. Me personally, man, I don't think the Falcons have the luxury of just kind of settling for their defense. Especially with Vic Beasley gone, I think they got to be aggressive, man. I know a lot of folks that follow me, that I follow, they kind of look at it and they say, just add three defensive linemen. I think that's asking a lot of three rookies to go out there, play a tremendous amount of snaps. I think it's asking a lot. That's why, in my opinion, man, you got to be aggressive with your defense. You must get a game changer on your defensive line. Verbally on the edge, a guy that can create mismatches for Grady Jarrett and for this guy, whomever that individual is, because that's how the Falcons can scheme pressures off of that man, or whatever the case may be. I mean, the Eagles have two guys, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, that operate that way. I think the Falcons need that guy. That could be Tack. We don't know. We got to see what Tack is going to do this offseason. But as far as what we seen, man, I wouldn't hold my breath in thinking it's Tack, man. And if the Falcons settle and they hope and pray that Tack is going to be that guy for them, they've already failed. They did that with Vic. They thought Vic was the guy. They thought that, hey, we just put Tack on the other side of Vic, that's going to work. it's not gonna work. They can't just settle for taking a leap. They must go out there and aggressively address the defensive line. Add another piece here or there in the secondary. Maybe they add another guy at linebacker. And I think the Falcons defense will be all right, man. But everything is on Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff to make those changes, man. They cannot settle. If they settle, this team is gonna be bad again. It may be a little bit better than folks think it is. But to me, man, I can't see this team being any more than a wild card team that potentially might come up out of it in the first round. So just let me know what you guys think. It's my first YouTube video. I'm not gonna edit this. I don't do YouTube. I let my colleagues do that. And man, if y'all ever want to shout out, man, if you guys ever want to sit down and talk with me, man, well, not sit down, but hit me up on Twitter at the real Pat, man. Everybody knows I'm always willing to talk, man. I'll do some research for you. You can either at me, you can DM me, whatever the case may be. Because, hey, man, this is what I do, man. I love football. I love numbers. And I like help educating people that may not know. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all time, man.